Hello everyone, and welcome to Autocrat. This is episode 74, Posthomerica Part 4, Everyone Loves Achilles Jr.
Yeah, they do.
They do. They really do. We ended last week with the grandson of Heracles routing the Greeks and sending them cowering amongst the ships.
Yeah, things are looking very bleak for the Greek army.
They are. However, all hope is not lost.
Is it not?
You might remember that we left a story thread hanging last week.
We did. We sent Odysseus and Diomedes out towards the island of Scyros in search of someone.
Yes, and not Skyonos as I've called it before, I double-checked. That someone is the son of Achilles.
Ooh.
We open book 7 with the Greeks splitting into groups to either bury the dead or fight Eurypylus once again as the day dawns. Nestor has to console one of his sons who won't leave his brother's grave. This brother was killed by Eurypylus, by the way. He's one of the deaths we skipped over.
Okay.
Nestor eventually convinces his son away, and they head towards the ships, where Eurypylus is still whirling around like a fiery ball of destruction.
Of course he is.
Yeah, he's the grandson of Heracles. Of course he is. He's on the point of burning the ships when Athena emboldens the Greeks again. Feels like she should just do that more often, because otherwise we're going to keep going back and forth like this. They start flinging spears from the walls, you know, the dirt wall they built around the ships. This keeps going all day and all night. Eventually, the Greeks ask Eurypylus for a 2-day truce to bury the dead, which is granted. We'd better hope that son of Achilles gets here soon, right?
Yeah.
Now, the camera immediately flash cuts over to Odysseus and Diomedes headed over to Scyros on their apparently black boat.
Yeah. They dock and head to the palace. There, they find Achilles' little boy throwing projectiles, riding his chariot, and generally pretending to be a warrior.
Nice.
How old is that kid?
I think he's in his teens, but I'm really hoping he's 2.
Yeah, sounds like he's 3-year-old. They approach, marveling. His face is basically that of his dad. Achilles' kid welcomes them and asks what they're doing here. I can imagine him being like, "What you doing?" Odysseus answers that they're friends of Achilles and compliment him on how much he looks like his dad. They introduce themselves and ask him to come to the war with them. It's the only way that they can end this.
Yeah.
He can even have his father's armor as a present from Odysseus.
Now, wait, I just heard something.
Yeah?
I think I heard Ajax rolling in his grave and screaming that Odysseus is just handing this armor off.
Yeah.
I'll try and do a scream as I go. Ah!
Odysseus also reiterates that Menelaus will give
Neoptolemus. They give the son.
Neoptolemus?
Huh? Oh, Achilles' son. We haven't said
We haven't introduced him.
You're right, we haven't said his name yet. Oh, I forgot about that. I think it does get mentioned at some point, but...
Odysseus also tells the kid that Menelaus will give him his daughter as a wife. Only if the little lad comes to war.
Yeah.
By the way, the little lad's name is Neoptolemus, in case we haven't mentioned it yet.
Yeah, I think I left that startlingly late in the episode, so good you caught that. Neoptolemus agrees.
Yeah.
I'm imagining.
And he leads them to the palace, where they find a grieving Diodamia. She's mourning for Achilles.
Wait.
I don't know how she knows about it.
How? Does Scyros just have a premium postal service, or have they told her in the meantime? It just isn't made clear. I mean, maybe Achilles' social media status has changed to shot by Apollo.
Now, everyone gets introduced and then they go to sleep.
Sure.
Like, I like to think they go like, "Hi, I'm Neoptolemus. Hi, I'm Odysseus. Hi.
Hi.
Good night."
Like that.
Yeah. Except Diomia.
Yeah.
She's thinking about Odysseus and Diomedes, the men her son introduced when he told her he was going to war.
Sure.
These are the men who made her a widow to Achilles. What if her boys died too?
Yeah.
When the next day comes around, she throws herself on her son's bed and cries. She tells him it's just a boy and begs him to stay with her. His father was more powerful than he is, and even Achilles could not escape death. If he dies too, she'll have nothing, and she'll be left defenseless, with nothing. However, Neoptolemus will not budge, and so she sadly remarks how much that reminds her of his father and tells him to be careful.
Yeah.
She kisses him, and we get to see her scream in agony after he's gone, like... Sometimes she cries on his bed. Sometimes she holds his childhood toys in her lap. Sometimes she kisses a spare he left behind.
I'm loving the sound effects. I feel like I'm really there.
However, her son doesn't heard any of this.
I meant here.
I know.
Ah.
He's boarding the ship with Odysseus and Diomedes. The gods, including his grandmother Cetis, are happy to see him laughing in between these two heroes. Still, Deidamia watches the sail as the ship pulls out the harbour and sails away.
Yeah.
The ship sails on, and at one point passes what the text calls the tomb of Achilles' son on some unknown island.
Yeah. I mean, we're assuming this is Peleus, but we're not sure. He's supposed to be buried on an island called Icos at the time, and the island's now called Alonissos. I mean, it's a whole geographic mess. I think it might be Peleus is the main point. Regardless, Odysseus doesn't point the grave out to Neoptolemus in case the sight of presumably his grandfather's grave upsets him too much.
Okay. Eventually, Troy comes back into view, and with it the Greeks and Trojans fighting around the wall with Eurypylus trying to tear it down.
That was the sound of smashing into a wall, definitely not the microphone.
Yeah, I hope it's still recording.
Oh, it is. It is, we just have a massive bash in the middle now.
Yeah, well, you know.
Yeah.
Diomedes leaps from his ships and encourages the entourage they took with them to help. They rush forward, with everyone trembling, except Neoptolemus. It's got his father's strength and the bloodlust is beginning to creep into his eyes.
In any other context, that's worrying.
They rush for the tent of Odysseus and gets him suited up.
Yeah.
When he's in Achilles' armour, everybody marvels that this could basically be Achilles' born again.
I should have called this episode and the last one How to Fanboy Over a Greek Hero.
Yeah, the Greeks are overjoyed when the kid comes out.
Yeah.
He rushes like an eagle towards the Trojan and smashes into them like boom! By the way, apparently Eurypylus is killing the Greeks in the Holocaust.
Ah. I mean, not sure if that's the right word for it, but that's the word that our translation gives.
The point is, Eurypylus has been wreaking havoc until now.
Yeah, I think the point is a very bad time is going on.
The three newcomers fling stuff from the walls. The Trojans are pushed back, but Eurypylus doesn't let them go far. He picks up a huge boulder and flings it at the walls. It crashes, and the Greeks shudder in fear. Eurypylus mocks them for a bit, like, you're so scared. Well, what's wrong, you little coward?
You gonna cry, you little Greek boy? You gonna cry? Wanna cry?
However, it doesn't sense his imminent destruction in the form of a certain son of Achilles.
If I can find it, I'll put the foreshadowing jingle in at this point.
Foreshadowing.
Neoptolemus starts massacring from the walls, with Trojans dropping like flies. Phoenix, remember that guy who raised Achilles, not a literal bird, stands marvelling at his little charge's son. He's overcome by grief for Achilles and joy at the sight of Neoptolemus. He hugs and kisses the gold-haired boy in his happiness, and they chat for a bit.
Yeah, they have time for that.
Yeah, like in every film, when there's a poignant moment, you have time for it. Neoptolemus would, in fact, have made a run for the Trojan gates themselves if night hadn't fallen. These people really cannot operate in dusk. We get the Greeks showering gifts on Neoptolemus for a bit and essentially acting like massive fanboys, which they are. He explores Achilles' tent for a bit, and we get a sweet bit where he's suddenly overcome with wanting his father. Briseis also sees Neoptolemus and is happy, apparently, even though so far everything we've been told about her life is horrible all the time. Book 7 ends with both sides going to sleep, happy about their little champions.
Aww.
We start Book 8 with these two champions being cheered on as battle is rejoined the next day.
Yeah, I like to imagine them coming like into the Colosseum, like on one side, and like the people in the circle.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Yeah! And when the opposite side comes, like, boo! Boo!
And Neoptolemus looking around, when did we build a Colosseum? In the night, don't worry about it, it looks cool. Neoptolemus makes a speech to the Myrmidons, you know, those warriors of Achilles, and gets dressed in his father's armour. Now, apparently, Thetis is happy when she sees this, and I have a bit of a point of order about this. Mm-hmm. It seems we're not worried about potential death in war when it's our grandson rather than our son. You remember how protective she was of Achilles all the time?
Yeah.
Neoptolemus, just go fight, it's fine. Neoptolemus starts killing, and you know the drill, we're not going to go into exactly who gets killed by who, it's just not relevant. We also get Aeneas, Eurypylus, and Diomedes getting in on the murdering, of what are basically side characters and or cannon fodder. One of Odysseus' friends throws a spear at Eurypylus, but it just bounces off and hits someone else. Which is cool, I didn't know spears could do that. Eurypylus now ends up opposite Neoptolemus. He demands to know who this boy is and whose horses these are that he's got. And the boy answers he's Neoptolemus, son of the man who killed Eurypylus' father. And anyway, we don't need to go into the detail on the horses. Let's fight. Neoptolemus dismounts and meets Eurypylus trying to hit him with a rock, the thing clanging off Neoptolemus' shield. As the Trojans and Greeks fight around them, these two become locked in combat. The gods watch on from above, some wanting Eurypylus to win, others Neoptolemus. Frankly, at this point in my script writing, I wanted either of them to win so I didn't have to type out both these tongue-twisting names anymore.
Of course.
Finally, though, Neoptolemus throws a spear through Eurypylus' throat.
Ouch! Yeah, I guess Eurypylus dies?
Yeah, very predictably, Eurypylus crashes to the ground and dies. Neoptolemus taunts his corpse. It's nice that he's learnt some things from his dad, I guess. And the Trojans draw back in shock. Neoptolemus rushes to his chariot while the Trojans run for Troy. Is it me or is this a common strategy?
It seems to be.
Ares shows up at this juncture to help the Trojans, encouraging them to turn and fight. They hear the voice, but can't actually see any form, so they're understandably amazed.
I bet.
Ares reminds the Trojans that Neoptolemus is a mortal, just like them, and not a god. So, the Greeks abruptly slam into a wall of Trojans that forms out of nowhere, and the carnage begins anew. Meanwhile, the goddess Enyo prowls through the battlefield, not helping anyone as she's afraid of incurring either the wrath of Thetis or of Ares. She's just there. There's more death, including Teucer avenging someone with a bowshot. Ares and Eris, again, why is this so confusing, spur the Trojans on, but Neoptolemus is not frightened at the divine din and just keeps killing. In fact, Ares would have tried to fight him himself if Athena hadn't rushed down with the snakes on her shield breathing fire, basically death glaring at him. She heads towards Ares and is about to fight him herself when Zeus sends down a thunderbolt to tell both his children to
get back up here right now. I'm not kidding, young lady and young man.
Ares flees to Thrace and doesn't bother with the Trojans anymore, while Athena slumps her shoulders probably, pouts for a bit, and then heads to Athens.
Yeah, the fighting continues though.
Yeah. Eventually, Neoptolemus and the Greeks push the Trojans back into the city. The Trojans reinforce the gates and manage to stop the Greeks taking the towers on the wall, so, minor wins. Hey, they haven't destroyed us completely yet. The Greeks cluster around the city and keep shoving at the doors, basically, hoping to break in. We essentially get a siege now, with Apollo emboldening the Trojans to rain down whatever they've got on the Greek forces below them, and we now get a very unusual divine intervention. This is because, when the Greeks are on the point of breaking down the gates, Ganymede sees this from heaven.
Remember Ganymede?
Yeah. That Trojan boy, I think, from episodes 5 and 16, who got snatched up because he was pretty and made a cupbearer?
Yeah, the constellation Aquarius.
Yeah, well, guess who's back? He begs Zeus to stop the city of his dad being burned. Zeus accordingly summons a cloud and hides the city with it, mist shrouding the siege. Thunderclaps are heard, and the Greeks recognise this is Zeus protecting the Trojans again. They break off the fighting for a bit. It's fine though, it's fine. They know that eventually Calchas' prophecy will come true and Troy will fall in the 10th year of the war. So they go back to bury their dead. It's only the city that's covered in mist after all, so the dead lying all around are still clearly visible. We then get Neoptolemus being hailed as a hero because of all that murder he did. Good job, lad. The boy is apparently still not wearied out, despite an entire day of fighting. So, Book 8 ends with the Greeks going to sleep happy and the Trojans going to sleep dreading to hear the sound of a Greek advance to destroy the city. So, that brings us to the end of today's episode.
It does.
As always, thank you all for listening, and until next time, have a great week, everyone.